but now I have the great pleasure of introducing Iain Shepherd from the European Commission, who will give you some more challenges to work with during the 3 days.
Okay.
Iain, floor is yours.
There's no need to show that. It's a bit boring, so I've decided just to, just to give a few ideas. I'm a bureaucrat, you see, so I work for the European Commission. And before we can do anything like make data available, we have to do an impact assessment, and we have to say what the economic value is. And this makes you think a bit. You have to present your case in front of what they call a regulatory impact assessment board, and it's something like the Spanish Inquisition. They really question you. And so we came up with 3 benefits. And the first benefit is that it helps you to do what you're already doing more cheaply. So if, for instance, you want to do an impact assessment of a new wind farm, before, to find the data, to collect the data, to put it all together with different formats, different baselines, cost money. So if you can get all the data that's already harmonized, that you can pick up from just one shop window, then it's obviously saving you money. So it's cheaper to develop this new ocean economy, which we believe is going to really take off. It has the potential now to really be a new source of growth and jobs. And the second benefit is obviously the one why you're all here. It's innovation. Before, it was only the people who had the data, the Belgian Railway Company or the town of Antwerp, that could provide applications based on their data. But once you open it up to this crowd of bright people like yourselves, you can put data together from different places, and you create innovation, and that's what Europe needs. Europe needs innovation. And then the third economic, and we could put numbers on these. We managed to convince the Spanish Inquisition that this was worth doing. And then the third one is on reducing uncertainty and this is difficult to put into numbers. You only can find examples, but we had one that came after we'd started work. We created a new seabed map of Europe. We put together data from about 70 different organizations that previously was all scattered to create, a map of the hills, the valleys. And this data had originally been collected for navigation. Obviously, you want to know how deep the water is if your boat's going in. But putting together this map and then using it as a model for modeling storm surges made an incredible difference. The UK Met Office wrote to us and said, this has made a phenomenal difference in our forecasting of storm surges in the North Sea. And the advantages of this for saving lives, saving property, avoiding false positives, false negatives, you can actually quantify. So there's an enormous economic benefit of what you're doing here today. And then the last thing I was going to say was another practical example that happened 2011. There was a tsunami in Japan that struck Japan. And tsunamis always happened at bad times. I mean, the first one in the Indian Ocean happened during the Christmas holidays. This one happened during the Easter holidays. So nobody's in their office. And then you get a phone call, and somebody says, is it safe to eat the fish from the Pacific Ocean? And, oh, sorry. Is it safe to eat the fish from the Pacific Ocean? And, of course, you've got not much idea. So you start to ask people, because You want to know, you want oceanographic models to see the spread of the radioactivity. You want the measurements that the Japanese are taking. You want to know the movements of fish, surprisingly enough, because one of the risks was that a big fish would swim into the contaminated area, eat the small fish, and swim out again. So you needed all sorts of information. And there was an art, and trying to get hold of this information was quite difficult. The Japanese published the measurements in PDF. They'd converted their Excel files into PDF files, and to try to convert them back into Excel took days, and trying to convince them to actually publish them in their original format was a real job. And in fact, there was an article in Nature a few weeks afterwards saying that it's really important in these emergency situations to make the data available, because then you get the whole community can work together. You get geeks and nerds and everyone who can actually produce the data, because the government wasn't providing this data. They'd asked us, and in fact, we did manage to give an answer in the end, but I think it took longer than it would have done. And of course, if it takes longer, you take the most conservative measures possible. You say, don't eat anything from the Pacific Ocean, which, when there was little risk, and that was harming the fishermen whose livelihoods depended on it. So there's an economic benefit to open data, and there's also very, very useful for emergency situations. So I think that's... The rest of my slides are a bit boring, and they repeated more or less what Jan Bart said. So anyway, we're looking forward very much to what comes out of this.